Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy, Alonso. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it's all happening behind me. Got the real tree up, got the aluminum tree up. And
how many trees do you have?
Well, the two big ones, and then there's also like over in that corner, there's like a little 3-foot kind of tabletop vintage aluminum tree.
Okay. So, it's very merry and bright. If you've never looked at our YouTube page, today is the day to do it.
Yes, Christy has her lovely tree in full effect as well. And, you know, given the current Omicron numbers, we may have nobody over for Christmas. So we're sharing it with you, our lovely viewers. So
yeah.
Wishing you the best this holiday season.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to talk about today in news is the fact that all of the Rockettes Christmas specials today have all been canceled. So if you had tickets to go travel to New York and go see the Rockettes and, you know, bask in the holiday splendor, may not be happening.
It's a tough time for live entertainment, especially on Broadway. Several musicals have had to cancel shows because of positive COVID tests among cast members. So Hamilton and MJ, which is a Michael Jackson musical that I had no idea was a thing, and there's a Tina Turner jukebox musical that had to cancel some shows, and like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and like all these different shows that do it. And then here in LA, the live A Christmas Carol that won a Tony last year, or was up for a Tony last year, Campbell Scott did it on Broadway. Bradley Whitford is playing Scrooge out here. They had to cancel a couple shows this weekend for COVID positive tests as well. So yeah, it's the Rockettes and are in the same boat, unfortunately, with a lot of other entertainers right now, where it's like they're having to pull the plug on shows.
Basically, it's only safe to go to the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree,
I guess, but like, you know, wear that mask and don't get too close to folks if you can help it, you know.
Indeed. But people apparently are going to movie theaters. We're going to review the new Spider-Man here in a little bit, but they had their Thursday previews yesterday, and they made $50 million just on Thursday domestically. I mean, granted, they were doing showings as early as like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
I saw it with you, Alonso, on Monday of this past week, but then I went and took Nick again just last night to a 4 o'clock showing after school. It was packed. And so I think people are pumped for an event like that, you know?
Yeah, this is, I mean, you know, whether or not that winds up being a good thing, we'll know in a month or two, but certainly this is the movie that is getting people back to theaters. Like we already know, just after the first few hours, that's the case. A friend of mine on Facebook was talking about, he went to see West Side Story last night and really enjoyed it. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I know it's disappointing. The box office numbers haven't been great, but I figured, you know, it's the pandemic and all. He goes, and then I walked out of the theater and there was a line wrapped around the corner in the rain to see Spider-Man. I was like, well, I guess that ain't it, you know?
Yeah. Our little neighborhood theater was packed. Various shows all crowded. What's funny is that there's no consistency as far as any kind of checking of vax cards, right?
Really?
So here in LA County, we're all supposed to wear masks indoors again. Mm-hmm. And like at the AMC Century City, when I tried to bring Nick to a screening of something, I can't recall, some big event movie, they wouldn't let him in because he was only halfway vaxxed. Like I was fully vaccinated. He'd only had one of his shots. He's 12. And so they turned us away. But at every other theater I've gone to, like no one cares. Like they look to see that you have a mask on. And in theory, you're wearing a mask once you sit down. But is that happening when you're eating popcorn?
Exactly. I haven't been to a public showing in a while, so I've only been dealing with press screenings. And at press screenings, they've been very fervent and adamant about checking the vax card, sometimes taking your temperature, like keeping that mask on, all that stuff. But yeah, here's the thing, movie theater employees are already getting underpaid for all the stuff they're expected to do. And in the last year now, we've dumped all these extra duties upon them in terms of like, what cleanup and checking people and stuff. And yeah, I could see where somewhere the system kind of falls apart.
Indeed. So that's all happening. Yeah, we saw The Matrix on Tuesday. We'll talk about that next week because there's still an embargo on reviews. But yeah, they checked all of our cards. It was a completely packed IMAX showing, but we all were masked for the 2.5 hours. Although, how is there COVID in The Matrix? That's my question for you. You take the pill and the COVID goes away in The Matrix.
You're opening a Pandora's box here. I don't even want to get into.
I am.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we're, by the way, for the holidays, we're going to do a special Wednesday episode next week where we catch up on Matrix and a few other year-end releases, and then we're going away for a while. We'll be back in January.
We'll have top 10 lists in January. Anyway, other news going on today. So it has been kind of an insane week if you're Chris Noth.
Yeah.
So one thing we didn't get to last week was this Sex and the City reboot, whatever you want to call it, called And Just Like That. Yep. And in the first episode of And Just Like That, Mr. Big dies riding his Peloton.
Yes.
And that made Peloton freak out. And then they put out this really cool ad in which Mr. Big is about to, take a ride with a sexy, sultry young woman. And it's all very cozy. And Ryan Reynolds does this very funny voiceover. And then it turns out that several women are accusing Chris Noth of sexual assault. That him returning to the Sex and the City show and getting, this newfound, rejuvenated fame and glory has understandably triggered something in them and something that they had not spoken about. And so several women have come forward. There's a bit of a pattern. These two women don't know each other, and these are separate incidents over like the course of many years. One was in 2004, one was in 2017. And then today, Zoe Lister-Jones, director Zoe Lister-Jones, said that she had worked for him at a nightclub several years ago and that he was inappropriate, and that she had worked with him at Law and Order. She did a couple Law and Order episodes, and he was like drunk. He had like a can of beer underneath the table and was like, you smell nice, and like all, skeeving up on her. But yeah, these two women are coming forward with, credible and detailed accusations of what happened to them.
Yeah. And so Peloton, of course, pulled the ad immediately.
Peloton poured the ad.
Yeah. Noth, of course, is denying all of this. But as you say, these are two women with separate incidents and with very detailed, recollections. And, I think when somebody like Zoe Lister-Jones steps forward, it does take out there's always this accusation. People think, oh yeah, you're gonna accuse the rich and powerful because somehow that's gonna help your career, or you're gonna make money on it, or you're gonna somehow profit off that, which is not a thing that happens and is a traumatic thing for anybody to have to come forward and talk about. But I think when somebody who is an established person already and has a career going and has nothing to gain, right, not that there ever is anything to gain, but you can't be accused of trying to, capitalize on a situation to say, no, I have witnessed this pattern of behavior. I think, that tends to bolster, other people's testimony. Yeah.
And there are corroborating statements from friends and like colleagues at the time who recall with these two women, like, they were shaken, they were shattered. One was bloodied and went to Cedars-Sinai Hospital to be examined. It's a big, long, and very detailed and very disturbing story in the Hollywood Reporter. Yes, as you say, he has denied all of this. He says it's all consensual, but that is happening. So we will continue to follow that. The Spirit Award nominations came out this past week. Yep. Always excellent taste, the folks, the Spirit Awards. Zola had the most with 7, including what? Feature, actress,
supporting actor, screenplay, director. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 4 of the 5 director nominees were women. Mm-hmm. There were Indigenous nominees in both the Best Actor and Best Actress category. Yeah, I don't have it all in front of me, but Steve Pond wrote a really good piece for The Wrap where he was like, this is one of those years where a lot of the big Oscar contenders are too expensive to be Spirit Award contenders. So unlike several of the last few years where you have a Nomadland or a Moonlight that can kind of exist in both worlds, this year, I'm sure a lot of people looked at the Spirit Awards and were like, what are these movies? Because their qualification system is different. You don't necessarily have to have had a theatrical run if you played in one of like 5 or 6 qualifying festivals. So for example, Pleasure, a movie I reviewed out of Sundance last year that hasn't opened yet in the US, is up for director and supporting actress and a couple other categories. But unless you saw it at Sundance or maybe what other festivals it might have played, you haven't seen that movie yet.
There's a bunch of stuff that got nominated that I've never heard of. And I'm usually very on top of things. You and I, we both see everything. And I think we're pretty on top of
we don't see everything, but yes.
No, but I think we are very knowledgeable year round.
Sure.
right? About what all is out there. And a lot of the, I think like the first feature nominees I had not heard of.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think this is, and it just varies on what is out there in contention. But because this is the year when all the expensive movies got pushed out of 2020 because of the pandemic and into 2021. So, you have to remember In the Heights was supposed to happen last year, and West Side Story was supposed to happen last year. And so, there's, I think, a lot of the films that might normally have, there might have been room for both. This year, the studios are really pushing the pricey stuff. And so, yeah, so we're winding up with movies like Wild, I'm forgetting now the titles, but yeah, there were a couple there I was like, oh, this one's all right. I don't know where this has been, but here we are now,
Right. So stuff like Belfast, so the budget cap is 22.5 million. It used to be 20 and they raised it a little bit to 22.5 million. So you have room for things like The Lost Daughter and Red Rocket and Come On, which have been, indie favorites. The Novice, which we're going to talk about later on today, which is excellent. It got 5 nominations. Picture, director, actress, editing,
supporting actress.
Yeah,
both.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So, this year feels truly indie. Like I'll never forget the year that I was there when Black Swan won, right? Black Swan, which is also a major Oscar contender.
The Artist,
The Artist.
like, come on, what are we doing here? So
a salute to classic Hollywood, which is full of gritty, independent spirit. Yeah.
Well, my, Drea Clark, who co-hosts Maximum Film with me, was one of the coordinators this year, and she was talking about having a meeting with some of the people who helped put the show together, and there was this kind of conversation of like, not a lot of stars in these nominations, like
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, but like Pig got a couple nominations, but Nicolas Cage did not, and Come On got nominations, but Joaquin Phoenix did not. So they're sort of trying to figure out who Simon Rex and Udo Kier, these are the names this year,
They are stars. Troy Kotsur from Coda, he's awesome. Anyway, so that happened. And then, of course, the Golden Globe nominations happened, which are kind of as to be expected. But one thing that didn't happen with that this year is that you usually on that morning, even I've not worked for the Associated Press now for almost 9 years, but I still get those email blasts of so-and-so is thrilled to be nominated for best original score, or, best supporting actress in a TV drama.
On the phone at 5:30 in the morning, and they were so thrilled. Yeah,
they were awake and waiting. So you didn't see that this year. You didn't see people being psyched to be a part of things with the Golden Globes this year.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what's up for it. I didn't really look at it.
I'm going to go with West Side Story and Being the Ricardos. I know that Don't Look Up got some stuff, which is surprising to me, and yet not. No,
of course not.
Right?
Because again, the Globes, I mean, they're not doing a show this year, but generally speaking, that you can really kind of just figure out they're thinking about who do we want to have on our red carpet, who do we want to have on our program this year. Let's nominate The Tourist so that Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie will be there.
So your drama nominees are Dune, Belfast, The Power of the Dog, King Richard, and Coda.
Okay.
So musical or comedy is Don't Look Up, Tick, Tick, Boom, Licorice Pizza, Cyrano, and West Side Story. So no Being the Ricardos.
But I bet you they nominated Nicole. Kidman, and probably Javier Bardem too, maybe, or
I don't know. Anyway, I'm just quickly glancing through it. I guess they think that Being the Ricardos is a drama. I don't know. Anyway, because Nicole Kim is not among actress.
Oh,
it's Emma Stone, Marion Cotillard for Annette. They saw Annette.
Whoa, well,
Alana Haim.
These are foreign folks, so
Yes, Jennifer Lawrence and Rachel Zegler. Anyway, so how are they going to give out Golden Globe awards if there's no Golden Globe ceremony? What are they going to do? Ship it to people's houses who
probably won? Yeah. I mean, I still remember the year that who was on strike. Was it the writer's strike? I think there was a writer's strike, and the actors didn't want to cross the picket line to do the Golden Globe show. So the entire thing was done by junket journalists who would get up and announce a couple of nominations, a couple of wins on stage, and then the next one would come out. And there were no stars, there was no audience. It was it was kind of sad.
Yeah, they do think that being in the Ricardos is a drama because that's where they put Jessica Chastain for Tammy Faye. They put Lady Gaga there. House of Gucci, not a drama in Lady Gaga's hands.
They don't have an unintentional comedy category, alas.
Yeah, Olivia Colman, Kristen Stewart, Nicole Kidman. Anyway, the irrelevant awards are also out there. So there is that. So speaking of celebrities and Jessica Chastain in particular, one thing we talked about on the show last week was this big New Yorker piece about Jeremy Strong and about his process and how intense he is and how deeply he digs into it. And it's all consuming to him. And it seemed like a pretty, not positive story, but very thoroughly researched, a very careful story and very detailed. And apparently a lot of folks who worked with him took great offense to it and found it mocking and derisive and felt the need to come to his defense. And so Jessica Chastain posted this thing on Twitter saying, you know, Aaron Sorkin does not have social media, but he asked me to post this for him. It's this long letter in defense of Jeremy Strong. And like, that just made it worse because then that became a meme and everyone's used that exact Jessica Chastain phrasing.
Yes.
Complete with the missing word and the XX at the end of it to say Aaron Sorkin didn't have social media, but he asked me to post this for him. And our friend Courtney Howard posted that like snowman thing.
Yes,
like
Mr. Police,
please, Mr. Police. And it's like, everyone's so fucking touchy and like sensitive.
I know. Well, it's like, does this mean now that like all actor profiles are going to become even more innocuous and shallow? Because like, look, frankly, I am not in love with hearing actors talk about process. Like when it happens on like talk shows or whatever, I'm just kind of like, I don't need to know this. Just go do the thing. And like, I get that for some people that's really interesting and they want to hear that and whatever. But if everybody's going to get this up in arms about a New Yorker profile, then I don't know if that's going to have a real cooling effect for journalists who are trying to write about this stuff, for actors being gun shy about, you know, divulging what it is that they go through to do what they need to do. I don't know. To me, this just feels like things are going to get more boring.
Right.
You know?
The access will dry up even more than it already has.
Yes.
Right? Because it was like an unusual example of actually getting to spend several days with somebody and like with their family. So are they now going to all say like, oh, well, they're going to take my words and twist them and I'm going to look like an asshole. So anyway, that happened. Bruce Springsteen has sold his entire catalog to Sony for a record $500 million.
Good on him. Like, you know, David Bowie did something not dissimilar to this, you know, like, you know, decades before his death. And it's like, yeah, at some point, I don't see why not. Like, you know, get the money now, let the label make money on it for the next century. But, you know, the guy's in his 70s. Like, how much longer can he tour? You know, he needs to take care of his own stuff. The band needs to be taken care of. Like, yeah, good. Do your thing, Bruce.
Anyway, so if you could not get Bruce Springsteen music out there, and I don't know if it's on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, but now you can.
Yeah, no doubt.
There you go. There is that. Ben Affleck also in the news this week. Ben Affleck did this Howard Stern interview, which I think has been wildly oversimplified.
Yes, because it has.
The headline in the tweet is like, Ben Affleck says that Jennifer Garner drove him to drink.
Yes, which is not what he said at all.
Which is not what he said. And he said, you know, that he, the marriage was not working and they wanted to stay together for the kids. And he was increasingly unhappy and felt trapped. And he would just like hide by drinking a bottle of scotch and passing out on the couch every night. Right. That is not Jennifer Garner drove me to drink.
Right. Yeah, it's like the relationship wasn't working. There were other issues, but yeah, as the media and as social media especially loves to do, you like boil out all the context and go right for the clickbait. And so, yeah, everybody calm down about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner.
Right, and then everyone's like coming to her rescue, saying like she drove him to rehab after they'd already broken up, and you know, he speaks very fondly of her.
Yes, of course. Like, this is again, I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he said a thing, and then just people ran with what they wanted to pull out of it, even though it had nothing to do with what he actually said.
People don't know how to read is the thing.
There is that.
Or they care not
skills.
to.
No, yeah, it's they want to skip to the juicy stuff, even if the juicy stuff is fabricated pretty much.
Speaking of Ben Affleck, okay, so we talked last week about Deep Water, the very sexy erotic thriller that Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas made together, where they met and started dating, and that Disney had pulled it from their January schedule. Hooray for all of us! It's going to be on Hulu.
Yeah, I think Matt Zoller Seitz says, like, this is what happens when one giant, entertainment conglomerate purchases another one. I mean, like, I think with the exception of West Side Story, which, because clearly I'm sure Disney wants to be in the Steven Spielberg business in the future and they don't want to make him mad, one could make a case that all of their sort of leftover Fox stuff, they have maybe not been giving the kind of, treatment it should. We've talked about whether or not Last Duel was under promoted. This movie, they're just yanking and dumping right on Hulu. I mean, I guess, they I'm sure they see Nightmare Alley as a valuable awards bait, so they're going to give that some love. But yeah, this is Disney kind of sweeping out the warehouse and not giving a shit about movies that they didn't initiate in a lot of cases, I think.
I wonder too, though, like, do Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas just not want to have to do press? Right? I mean, like, how awkward is that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, we're looking at the Jersey Girl situation again, which by the time that movie came out, Bennifer was over, and Harvey Weinstein made them cut like Jennifer Lopez's role down to absolutely nothing, and that's what ruined that movie. But yeah, that's certainly a possibility too. Maybe they're all just happy to wipe their hands of it. But I just I don't know. You're right. There's a lot of variables here. It could be Disney. It could be them not having moved on and not wanting to talk about it. Not that they have any say in this, but I'm sure at least they might find it relieving. But it's the first Adrian Lyne film in ages. Show some respect.
We should review it. Whenever it comes out on Hulu. It's Hulu domestically and Amazon internationally. We will watch it.
We're reviewing that for sure.
So there's that. You mentioned West Side Story a little bit ago. It did not have a great opening last weekend. No. It only had like a $10 million opening for what is a giant spectacular of a film.
But again, to quote Matt Zoller Seitz again, let's not forget that Greatest Showman started with a pretty $8 million opening weekend, and then grew and became a big thing. Not to say that all musicals necessarily follow the same trajectory, but like there is still a pandemic happening. This is a movie that was automatically going to appeal to an older audience that was hard to get back into movie theaters at the best of times. They certainly aren't necessarily rushing out to deal with the Omicron variant. So let's just wait and see.
I agree. I think it's so well made and has such great word of mouth that people will find it eventually. And maybe like if we're going to go see Spider-Man and it was all sold out or it was too crowded, they'll say, "Oh, let's go to West Side Story instead."
Yeah,
that's also with the multiplex.
And I could also see that as a movie that there's discussion about whether or not Oscar nominations really boost a bottom line. But I could see that if they can keep it alive in voters' minds enough, where if they can get some good traction there, that will compel people to see it. And the thing about West Side Story is that, it is we've been conditioned by the studios to think that an event movie means like superheroes or outer space and this is a different kind of event movie. This is a different kind of movie that needs to be seen on the big screen, but it's not the kind that we've been, this isn't the roadshow era. We haven't been, kind of trained to understand that like big musicals like this need to be experienced as big as possible and with as lush a sound mix as possible,
with a crowd singing along.
Exactly.
Elon Musk is your Time Person of the Year.
Whoop-de-doo.
But like, why?
Hell if I know.
I want to know why. Because he went to space? Like, Jeff Bezos went to space.
It is my understanding that there are like, I don't know if they're publicity agencies or whatever, but there are companies that lobby Time Magazine for that kind of thing. And so clearly somebody must have sold them a real bill of goods. But yeah, Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, unless they were doing, they didn't even do it the way like when they made Hitler Man of the Year, and it was like, here's an example of everything that's wrong with the world right now, because that's kind of what Elon Musk is. But they didn't go that route, so I don't know. I don't know what the point is.
He just sold like 900 something million dollars worth of Tesla stock.
Did he now?
He did. Jennifer, speaking of people who made a lot of money in weird ways, Jennifer Lawrence is going to play Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes in an Adam McKay movie called Bad Blood. But at the same time, there's also a series that's going to be on Hulu called The Dropout, starring Amanda Seyfried as Elizabeth Holmes.
Was it the Hulu series that was originally going to have Kate McKinnon?
Oh, maybe.
I think that was the thing that was going on, and then she left, and now it's Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jennifer Lawrence could play the hell out of it. I do not want to see her in another Adam McKay movie after having endured Don't Look Up, but you know, I never get what I want.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have your dueling Theranos scathing exposés going on here.
Very and they both have a documentary to live up to, so you know.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. There's a very, very cute little Ted Lasso kind of stop motion animation Christmas short that is out there. Yes. I guess it's on Apple TV Plus, but also it's just Apple put it on their Twitter feed. It's really cute.
Yeah, you can watch it for free on Apple TV Plus. But yeah, you can find it online pretty easily. Yeah, it's cute. I mean, they had given us a taste of, like, you know, stop motion Ted Lasso Christmas in the opening credits of the Christmas episode that aired this past season, which, if you missed, is a great, like, now is the time of year to like fire that one up again. That was a great episode. But
totally charming. Yes,
this is a fun short, and you know, it's funny. When we were watching it, Dave's like, "Is that even Jason Sudeikis?" I said, "No, really, it's him." But he's I don't know, maybe he's being in a booth by himself as opposed to on the set. He's going a little big with the accent and stuff. But
he did sound different. But it's nice to see all those folks again, even in claymation form, whatever it is. Another weird thing involving bad behavior. Jeff Garlin has been, he is quote unquote exiting the Goldbergs. No one's saying he was fired.
No,
he is exiting after some HR investigation into inappropriate conduct on set, making people feel uncomfortable. Yeah,
inappropriate conduct. Like, apparently 3 years in a row they had the same meeting with Jeff Garlin, and what I don't know what the details are, but whatever it was, he kept doing it.
He says stuff like vagina all the time. Like he'll stand up from sitting down after a long time and go, "Oh, my vagina hurts."
Okay.
Because he's a comedian.
Hilarious.
And that's comedy. So it's things like that where he's like saying kind of what he thinks to be edgy, provocative things. And then when people take offense to it, he's like, "It's comedy. I'm a comedian."
Yeah, that's always the response. It's never like, "Oh, maybe I should save that for like my friends who are also comedians in their 80s and we can all laugh at each other's sparkling wit." But no. It's always everyone else is wrong. I'm a comedian.
Maybe I should not be an asshole in the workplace.
Let's throw that out there as a maybe,
And think of my coworkers and what they care about too. Exactly. So there's that. A couple more things for you. Former President Obama, put out his annual list of books and movies and songs. His top list, it's not even a top 10, it's like 15. He gets as many as he wants. He's got great taste. It's like Drive My Car, The Card Counter, West Side Story, Pig, Summer of Soul. I think Power of the Dog is on there. There's this conspiracy theory that Obama doesn't actually watch these movies, that he has some like A24 savvy staffer who just picks like whatever is the the cool awards bait.
My favorite response was our friend Carlos Aguilar said, "Wait, so he got the Neon book but didn't watch Petite Maman?"
I'm just like, wait, how did he get a screener of West Side Story?
Well,
they're not sending those out. Like, did Spielberg like go to him with his own personal copy of the film to show it to him in his media room?
Sure. Spielberg gave him a flash drive. I don't know.
He brought Ansel Elgort and Rachel Zegler over to his house to act it out.
Yikes.
Rita Moreno stopped by. So there's that. Betty White, if you all want to celebrate the greatness of soon-to-be centenarian Betty White, Fathom Events is doing a thing on January 17th at various movie theaters across the country. They're doing a couple of different showings. It says Betty White 100th birthday celebration. Sort of like a documentary tribute to how awesome she is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, there's that. And then a few deaths to mention this past week, and then we'll get on to Spidey. Bell Hooks died at 69. Yes. Very important feminist writer, thinker. Mike Nesmith of the Monkees died like a week ago, but we're just late on it. He was 78. Did not know.
A film producer.
He produced Repo Man.
Yes, and Tapeheads.
And his mom invented liquid paper.
Also, yes.
I did not know that. I guess, yeah, he could have just like lived off the family fortune, but he was like, no, I'm going to be a musician. And that turned out okay. Anne Rice died at age 80, and Vicente Fernandez, Mexican singing legend, at 81.
Yes. R.I.P. That was a lot for 1 week, but all major in their respective fields for sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, thanks everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And look up our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. The TV recaps are off the chain this week. We are capping off the second season of the Great. We're at the next to last episode of Hawkeye. So, of course, you know that's going to be a cliffhanger. Plenty of stuff to discuss. Our monthly Off the Menu is coming up next week. We're talking about Ingmar Bergman's Fanny and Alexander for the holidays. All kinds of special things you only get if you're a subscriber. So become one at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.